2 years ago, I made a video called Yes and Isn't the Great D&D Advice You Think It Is. The thumbnail said, D&D isn't improv. Very clickable, but was it right?
I'm getting ready to leave for my first improv class.
I don't feel like we're halfway through. We just had our last class of Improv 2. Tomorrow is the showcase. I have spent the last 3 months taking improv classes. And listen, the thing about putting your opinions on the internet regularly for years on end is that sometimes you say something kind of stupid and you don't realize it's stupid until later. In this case, I misunderstood one of improv's most important ideas. Now that I've actually studied improv, I'm ready to defend it. Not because D&D is improv, but because improv is incredible practice for the exact skills that make tabletop games work. So let's talk about the 3 ways improv has made me a better game master and a better player. If you're new here, I'm Ginny D, and I've been making videos about how to have more fun at your game tables since 2019. And if you're wondering why I decided to take an improv class in the first place, the answer is Critical Role. A while back, I got to moderate their panel at Anime NYC, which was pretty surreal because I got into D&D because of Critical Role. And here I was on stage with them, doing my best to contain the fangirl.
You can't possibly applaud as loudly as this man deserves, but you can certainly try. It's Matt Mercer!
During the Q&A, the subject of improv came up, and several of the cast members recommended it.
That question has come up a lot, and it comes up a lot when people come through our signing lines of like, what are your suggestions for getting better at acting or role playing? And it's always improv. It teaches quick reaction time and thinking on your feet and making strong choices in the moment. Look into your local improv troupe and just have fun. It's a really great tool.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, but they're actors. That's different from a home game. And you're totally right. Improv is acting, and actual play is performance. Personally, I do sometimes play tabletop games as performance. So when I heard some of the most established actual play performers in the business saying take an improv class, I figured maybe I should listen. After a fair amount of anxious procrastination, I finally got my nerve up and signed up for my first class. Now, 3 months later, I have survived 2 classes and 2 shows. And even though I went into this expecting these lessons to apply more to performance than to home games, I think I was wrong about that. Over the last 3 months, I have become a better player and game master, even in games that nobody's watching. The first muscle that improv has helped me strengthen is staying loose. This is something our teachers told us over and over again in both Improv 1 and 2. As we learned more and more techniques and practices, sometimes we'd get in our heads about all the things we were trying to remember and execute. And this was always what we returned to, the last tip we'd get before going on stage. Stay loose. The whole point of improv is that you don't have a script. You start the show by asking for an audience suggestion, and you don't know what it'll be until seconds before you're expected to perform whole scenes about it. You walk out on stage with no idea what your scene partner is about to say. You've already opted in by the time you find out that you're their mother or their cat sitter or a superhero saving their life. Oh wait, sorry, I already said cat sitter. Same thing. Every single time you do improv, you are practicing, sitting in that creative uncertainty, and trusting that in the moment, you will figure out how to respond. One of the exercises we did many times is called a 3-line scene. This was basically just practicing how to start a scene. The instructor would give us a suggestion, like light bulb, and you'd need to immediately take that suggestion and say something to open the scene. Like, Candace, can you come replace this light bulb? You're so much taller than me. Then your scene partner responds, and you respond to them, and that's it. Just 3 lines. This exercise is uncomfortable, or at least it was for me. My instinct when I'm nervous, which is often, is to make a plan. But with this exercise, it was impossible to prepare because I wouldn't know my suggestion until it was time to perform. So I was standing in line, waiting for my turn, completely unable to do the thing that I have spent my entire life relying on as a way to calm my anxiety. Improv does not allow you to lean on that instinct. It forces you to strengthen a completely different creative muscle, and it's a creative muscle that tabletop games ask us to use all the time. As a player, it can be very tempting to decide what your character's story is going to be before you even start the campaign. I have seen so many players excitedly say that their new character is going to develop a found family or get over a fear or limitation. But telling a predetermined story isn't really what tabletop games are for. The goal is to bring your character to the table and then find out in real time what they do, what happens to them, and how they change as a result. You might think your character is going to learn to trust, but if a party member player or an NPC betrays them, that outcome doesn't make sense. The beauty of discovering the story together is that you can't predict what's gonna happen. And for game masters, it's nothing new to hear that we're supposed to stay flexible. We're told around every corner that we shouldn't railroad players, that we should stay open to what players contribute. This isn't new information, but it is a skill, and it's one that's easy to avoid strengthening because it has a counterpart: preparation. Those of you who have been around here for a while know that I am an unapologetic defender of prep, so I'm not saying that you should stop doing it. But I think preparation and flexibility are in a bit of a push-pull relationship. If you only strengthen one of those muscles, then that one starts compensating for the weakness of the other. I have spent many years building an incredibly beefy prep muscle because I was so scared of having to make creative decisions on the fly. You guys have literally watched me working on this recently, like in the video where I challenged myself to run a game that was completely randomized. But no matter how strong your prep muscle gets, you can't possibly prepare for everything. Trust me, players have boundless capacity for chaos. And when I ran a private game at Gen Con the other week, I finally started to see my wimpy little improv muscle demonstrating some gains. I was running a game with a villain who was, to put it frankly, evil. Even when she was alive, she was cruel, and being undead certainly didn't improve her personality. But for some reason at this table, some of the players decided that they wanted to try to redeem her. Now, this character is irredeemable. That's just a fact about her. But the players were determined to try, and much to my chagrin, they were rolling very well. After some clever ideas and some minor successes, one player rolled a natural 20 persuasion check against her. Because I had written her to be just so blatantly pure evil, I just hadn't really considered what it would look like if characters were very intent on changing her mind. I knew that simply ignoring the natural 20 and shutting down the player's efforts would suck. It sucks to roll a natural 20 and have it mean nothing. But at the same time, I couldn't let a single die roll change the fundamental nature of this character. This is one of those decision points that isn't difficult to navigate in hindsight. But when I'm in the middle of a game and everyone is waiting for me to respond to something that I'm considering for the very first time, my gut reaction is to panic. I've been known to call for a quick 10-minute break in order to give myself space to make a new plan, which is fine. But after months of slowly strengthening my ability to make creative choices in the moment, I actually felt equipped for this. I asked myself, what does a natural 20 persuasion look like for this character? It doesn't look like her recognizing the error of her ways and becoming a total teddy bear, but it could look like her offering them the opportunity to escape alive. It could look like her choosing not to attack the downed party member, despite him being the easy target. Mercy from a character like this was the best case scenario, and when I was in the moment, staying loose, it was kind of easy to spot that. Of course, the players declined. They killed her, but it made that final battle very dramatic. Afterwards, one of the players emailed me and said, "I think the way you let it play out was much more satisfying and moving than just letting her accept my offer right off the bat." They even used the phrase, "a testament to your skill as a DM," which is why I'm gonna get that entire email tattooed on my arm, now that it's so swole. Take that, imposter syndrome. But in reality, I think it's a testament to how helpful these improv classes have been for me. For the last few months, I have been training myself to mentally process who a character is and how they would react to any given situation in a matter of seconds. Turns out practicing a skill makes you better at it. Big if true. Oh crap, I forgot to write a segue into the sponsor. And then it's today's sponsor. Nailed it. Oh, that's gonna be perfect when the lycanthropes attack the party tomorrow in the dark forest.
Why have some other bardic croons? You've gone behind my back for tunes!
It's Pocket Bard. It's an app for game masters to let you add music and soundscapes to your games. You can layer different sounds, change the tone and intensity of the music, and even add one-shot special effects for things like spells or monsters. Here, try it.
You'd replace me with the machine! That's a load of Tarrasque crap! I can't believe you'd be so mean! Choose a real bard, not an app!
Clover, there are real bards behind this app. All the music, sound effects, and art are created by real people. They offer 24 different scenes completely free forever. For most GMs, that'll be plenty for a traditional fantasy world, but subscribers also unlock other realms like sci-fi, horror, even the Feywild. And the first 100 people to use my code can even get 3 months subscription for free.
I see. You'd like to cut your cost. No matter to you my fiscal loss.
You and I both know I have never paid you, Clover. Besides, this is so much more convenient. It literally fits in my pocket.
Could do that with spells, I reckon.
though enlarge reduce lasts 60 seconds. I'm sorry, Clover, but you just cannot compete with this app. It could not be easier to seamlessly transition between tones and scenes and types of gameplay. Honestly, it's so easy to use, I don't even really need to prep it, but I do anyway, because it's fun.
Fine. Until your icy heart should melt, I'll go inspire someone else.
Oh shoot, she took my phone. Whatever, the desktop version isn't hard. Bigger screen, same pocket bard. God dang it, now she's got me rhyming. If seeing the word listening on screen right now feels insultingly obvious, like you're being instructed to share during kindergarten playtime, I understand. Matt Mercer brought up listening as a skill that improv trains at the Anime NYC panel, and I fully admit I had a similar reaction.
The other big thing you learn from that, and it's a great thing to keep in mind, is listening.
Yeah.
Often being aware and listening to everyone else around you, you'll find the inspiration and collaboratively build a better scene and altogether a better experience. So that's another great skill you learn from improv too.
I also want to jump in. It teaches you to listen, and that is super important for every...
But now that I've taken some improv classes, I understand what he was trying to say, and it's so much more practical and more challenging than I thought. We all know that the worlds in which we play tabletop games only exist in our imaginations. This means that listening isn't just how we show respect to the people we're playing with, it's also how we make sure we're all playing in the same reality. Listening is our only path into the world of the game. I mentioned earlier that I made a video built on a misunderstanding of what yes and is actually all about. If you're not familiar with the concept, yes and basically just means that when you're on the improv stage, you should accept what your scene partner contributes, that's the yes, and build on it, that's the and. Now in improv, everyone has shared custody of reality. Your scene partner is not only allowed to make decisions about your character for you, they're encouraged to. In most D&D games, we have a little more structure than that. The Dungeon Master is generally responsible for making decisions about the world, while each player is responsible for making decisions about their own character. It would be considered pretty bad etiquette for me as the DM to announce that your character suddenly bursts into tears, or for a player to inform me that they just found a magic sword plunged into a stone. Although I do love a good opportunity for a cursed item. But even though yes and doesn't apply to D&D the same way that it does to improv, the principle behind it absolutely does. Because on a fundamental level, yes and is about making sure that everyone is playing in the same world. Let's say I walk out on the improv stage and my scene partner says, "Wow, it's freezing in here." If I say, "No it isn't, we're in the Sahara Desert," that's called a denial. Suddenly the audience has no idea where we are and my scene partner doesn't know how to respond. We're occupying two different versions of reality, which makes it really hard to play together. So when we talk about listening, that means more than just not interrupting or not tuning out. It means keeping your active focus on what is being established around you so that we can all make sure that we understand the shape of the world and the scene that we're occupying together. We did one exercise in class that really drove home for me how much harder this is than it sounds. It's a variation on an exercise created by comedian Will Hines, and it's called "You Wanted to See Me, Boss?" The exercise always starts the same way. One player walks in and says, "You wanted to see me, boss?" Then the other player lists 3 totally normal tasks for the employee, like, "I need you to muck out the horse stalls, feed the chickens, and repair the barn door." Then the employee is supposed to repeat back those 3 tasks and ask if there's anything else. At this point, the boss introduces some unusual belief, like, "Yeah, I've been thinking the goats are spying on us." The rest of the scene is the boss character trying to defend that weird belief and the employee playing the voice of reason. You're probably wondering what I myself was wondering: why repeat back the list of normal tasks? What purpose does that serve in the exercise? Looking back, I suspect it's because he was training our ability to listen. The exercise was forcing us to stay in the moment. It sounds easy, but because we were anticipating whatever crazy conspiracy the boss was about to say, it became surprisingly difficult to memorize and repeat that short list of 3 tasks. We were all so focused on what was coming next that we stopped paying attention to what was happening right in front of us. This happens in tabletop games all the time. As a player, it's very easy to start planning your next move or your funny joke, and next thing you know, you're attacking an enemy that died 2 turns ago, or asking the DM a question that they literally just answered. Not only does this slow down the game, but it means that you have stopped sharing the same world as everybody else. You're temporarily playing in your own parallel universe where that bridge didn't collapse, or the rogue isn't scouting 200 yards ahead. And don't think game masters are off the hook here. Your players are constantly telling you what excites them, what they care about, which mysteries they're invested in, and which NPCs they're falling in love with. If your nose is stuck in your notes and you're just tuning out while your players talk amongst themselves, you're missing out on opportunities to bring those things back around and make the world feel like it's responding to the people sitting around the table. Listening is one of those skills that's deceptively simple. We all think we know how to do it, but personally, taking improv classes has shown me just how much room I have to grow when it comes to that skill. I'm sorry, Matt Mercer. As usual, you were right and I should have trusted you. I'm just gonna say it out loud. Improv is scary as hell. You walk onto a stage with no script, no plan, no idea what's about to happen. They don't even let you bring your emotional support sword. When you get stuck in a scene that isn't working, it is painful. And unlike tabletop games, you are doing it in front of an audience. That level of vulnerability can be terrifying. So a huge amount of what we worked on in class wasn't the principles of comedy or storytelling, it was learning to support each other. In order to get out there on stage and take those risks, we had to trust that no matter what happened, the other people on stage were trying to help us succeed and weren't gonna let us fall flat on our faces. One of the ways we do that is by giving each other gifts. A gift is anything that you give your scene partner that makes the scene easier for them to play. Usually that means establishing something about their character that gives them a clear direction to follow. This might be something as simple as calling your scene partner grandpa or telling them you're always trying to solve everyone else's problems. Our instructors kept telling us that our job wasn't to get out there and be funny or tell jokes, it was to make our fellow players look good. If we focus on that, the whole performance gets better and we can all do our best work. This was actually something we struggled with in our Improv 2 class. There's a concept in improv called an edit, and an edit can be a very powerful gift. The most common one is a sweep, which ends the scene and clears the stage. The thing is, only someone who is not in the current scene can sweep it. If you're on stage and you feel like your scene is done, too bad. You don't get to decide. You just have to keep improvising until one of your teammates releases you. Towards the end of our class, we had started to demonstrate a real reluctance to edit each other's scenes. I think part of it is that in Improv 1, we got told that we were sweeping scenes too fast and we overcorrected. Or maybe it was just that we were worried about cutting our teammates off if they had more they wanted to say. But the result was that we all got more and more anxious about starting scenes because we kept getting stuck in scenes that went on way too long. This made us all hesitant to get on stage because we couldn't trust that our teammates would help us get off stage again when we were done. So by the time we had our last class before our showcase, there would be these long, stressful moments when the stage was empty and we were just waiting for somebody else to step up there. Sometimes it would be a good 30 or 40 seconds of awkward silence where nobody wanted to be the one to start a scene. We had to have a serious talk where we begged each other to be more proactive with edits in order to rebuild our trust as a group. I'm sure it won't surprise anyone to hear that this is very similar to how I think about D&D. I have said over and over that games improve when we're all fans of each other's characters. I've played with a lot of incredibly generous role players over the years, and one thing that they all have in common is that they're constantly looking for opportunities to make somebody else's story more interesting. A great example came up in the vampire game I played at Gen Con. I was playing a nun who had recently been turned into a vampire and was having a complete crisis of faith. I know, heavy. We had been told to bring serious characters, despite what Zach the Bold rat-eating sewer vampire would have you believe. The mistake I made here, which is so obvious looking back, is that I'd basically built a character who was morally opposed to using the fun vampire game mechanics that we were playing with. Thankfully for me, I was playing with Lua Stardust, who was an extremely generous role player. Her character offered to hunt for me, so the blood wouldn't technically be on Sister Martina's hands. Not only did this give me a clear route to the game mechanics, it also created space for my character to wrestle with her conscience. Lua saw an opportunity to support a fellow player's story, and she took it. And this isn't just something players can do for each other either. Game masters have the most power to set up player characters for success. The game master in our vampire game, Jason Carl, gave me a similar gift when he had a frightened human notice my nun habit and run straight to Sister Martina for protection. It opened up a perfect moment for my character to confront the fact that she was not a safe person for a human to run to. He knew my character's central conflict, and he generously provided a great moment to explore it. This is more or less the narrative version of the shoot your monks principle. Just like game masters can make opportunities for players to use their class features, they can also make opportunities for players to explore the narrative concepts that are important to them. If you're practicing principle number 2 and listening, you'll have all the tools that you need to do it. When I was talking about the first principle, staying loose, I mentioned that not having a plan and sitting in that feeling of uncertainty is uncomfortable. The thing that makes it more comfortable is having trust with your teammates. There's a ritual ritual in improv right before you get on stage where every player looks the other player straight in the face and says, "I've got your back." You do it over and over to every single person, and they do it back to you. I think it means something that the very last thing we reinforce before we get on stage isn't yes and, or who, what, where, or if that's true, what else is true. It's the bond of trust between the people on stage. Whether you're a player or a game master, tabletop games ask you to give up control. Every person at the table gets to shape the story. That's the whole point, which means no one person makes all the calls. But if you trust the people around you enough to let go of that control, if you stay loose and listen to each other and have each other's backs, you are rewarded with some truly incredible games. My video about yes and boldly stated that D&D is not improv. And sure, that's true. You don't have to train in improv in order to enjoy or be good at tabletop games. But if you're asking yourself whether or not you should be duck-duck-going local improv classes right now, my suggestion would be yes. I think if you enjoy tabletop games, there is a very good chance that improv will also be fun for you. You'll make new friends, you'll laugh a lot, and you'll get to spend a few hours every week making up ridiculous scenes and characters with other people. Which, when you think about it, is actually a pretty good way to meet people who might want to play D&D.